finding the right attorney to represent you is a very serious decision, not something you should take lightly. And specifically, if we're talking about a criminal defense attorney because you've had charges filed against you, it's definitely a decision that you want to kind of put some thought into and explore your options to make sure you find the right criminal defense attorney for you. Hi, my name is Marcy Fosio. I'm an attorney who helps people who've been charged with a crime in the Oklahoma City area. And I have found I've been practicing criminal defense for 15 years, and I've started as a prosecutor. Now I do criminal defense. As a criminal defense attorney, I have found that the types of questions my clients have at the beginning of the criminal justice process are a lot different than the questions they have later on. Well, later on in the process, they have an attorney, me or whoever their attorney is that they can ask. At the beginning, you may not have an attorney yet, so you've got a lot of questions and you don't have anyone to ask. So I'm putting together these series of videos that address some of the most common questions that I have found people have at the beginning stages of the criminal justice process, hopefully to help people that are at that point with answering questions and maybe hopefully relieving some stress because you at least have a little bit more firm footing, you know what's going on, you know what to expect. So this is part 4 in that series of videos, and in this video I'm going to talk about some tips for how you can find the best criminal defense attorney for you. So I am definitely not the best criminal defense attorney for everyone in the Oklahoma City area. So I'm definitely not saying I'm the best. But there are some things that you can look at to find out who is the best for you in your specific situation. One thing to consider, I obviously said that I help people charged with a crime in the Oklahoma City area. So depending on where charges are filed against you, that's going to be a pretty big factor. If charges have been filed against you in Dallas, Texas, I'm definitely not the best attorney for you. So that's just an example of things to consider. So I want to show you a guide that I have created to help people with this question, and it's on my website, so you can go in there and grab it. My website is fosiolaw.com. When you go to the website, you see the resources tab and go down to this link right here, top 10 tips to find the best attorney. So click on that. When you click on that, it's going to bring you to a page where if you just put in your name and email address so that I know where to send the guide, I'll email this guide to you. So as you can see, it's the top 10 tips to find the best attorney for your criminal case. And the subtitle there, ask the right questions to find the right attorney for your case. Because again, depending on the specifics of your situation, one attorney might be good for you and another might not. So once you put in your name and email address, you're going to get an email from me, and then you're also going to go to this page. Wait for it to load. I'll bring up that document for you. So let's scroll down and kind of just go through this. So obviously, if you prefer to read, then just jump online, put in your email address, and you can get this guide and just read it. But if you prefer video, I'll kind of walk you through and give you the highlights. So to start out with, basically, you've got to have a name, an attorney that you're interested in. So you can go to Google, you can go to whatever search engine you use online and kind of just type in best criminal defense attorney or whatever search term you want to do. So you can search on Google, you can have family and friends recommend or refer. In my opinion, no matter if it's a plumber or whatever it is, even if a friend refers someone to me, I'm still going to go online and see what I can see to get a little bit more information versus just going on the referral. But once you've kind of got that information, you've Googled, you've got a recommendation or a referral, or maybe there's just an attorney that happens to work across the street from you. Once you've got a starting place, then let's start this process where we're asking the right questions to see if that attorney is going to be right for you. And so I've got the top 10 tips to find the best attorney for your criminal case. So we'll just kind of skim through this. Tip number 1, I would suggest that you consider an attorney who practices criminal law exclusively. So a lot of attorneys practice any type of law. They might prepare a will for someone one day, handle a divorce the next day, do a contract dispute the next day, and then they also have a criminal case. So that person obviously practices a lot of different types of law and not going to be able to specialize and have as much time and experience in specifically criminal law. So tip number 1 is to consider a lawyer who practices only criminal law. Tip number 2 is looking for an attorney with relevant experience. That's related to the first tip. If you've got an attorney who did divorce work for the first 10 years and now they're just starting to do criminal defense work, then they've got a lot of experience as an attorney, but not necessarily relevant experience. So that's something to consider, and you can kind of if you've got an attorney you're interested in and you talk to him or her, ask them questions to sort of explore these things. Tip number 3, how you feel about the lawyer matters. I've had several clients that they hired attorney number 4 because their best friend said they were great, and so they went ahead and hired that person even though their gut said that they weren't right for them. They hired them, and just the attorney-client relationship, which I feel is so important. You've got to be able to trust your attorney. That relationship didn't work out, and they end up having to go hire a different attorney. So trust your gut. How you feel about them does matter, even if they are the smartest person in the world or they did a great job for your best friend. If you don't feel right about them and you're not comfortable and you don't trust them, it's probably not going to be a good experience. Tip number 4, my experience from talking to my clients is something that is so important to them is that an attorney communicates with them, keeps them up to date, tells them what's going on with their case, and cares about their opinions and what they think. So again, one attorney might be the smartest attorney in the world, and they say, this is what we should do, but they're not talking to their client or getting their client's input. And in talking to other people, I think that that's really not going to lead to the outcome that you want. So I would suggest that you talk to the attorney that you're considering to find out how they are at client communication and if they prioritize client satisfaction or not. So tip number 5, thinking outside the box and being creative, I think has gotten me some of the best results more than anything else. So maybe I did great in law school and I'm got an A in all my exams, but if you can't think outside the box, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. In other words, if your attorney can't think outside the box. So maybe the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Maybe that strategy works a lot of the time, but being able to think outside the box and come up with creative solutions, in my experience, has gotten my clients a much better result than the traditional way of thinking. Doesn't always work, but something to consider. Find an attorney who is compatible with you financially. And I've put this quote in, I don't remember where I heard it, but I think it's funny, and it's, if you think a good attorney is expensive, you don't want to know how much a bad attorney will cost you. So yes, you don't want to hire the most expensive attorney in town if you can't afford them, because that's clearly not going to work out. But you also need to ask yourself if there are ways, if there are resources. Can you get a loan? Can you have a friend help you? Can you use a credit card? If there are ways for you to put together the financial resources to hire the attorney that you think is going to get you the best result, what's more important? Is that worth an investment? So again, if you can't afford it, you can't. There's nothing to do about that you can do about that. But if there are some ways for you to get together the money, in my opinion, an attorney and a doctor, things like that are worth the investment, even though if it means you have to sacrifice some other things you might like. So finding an attorney who's compatible with you financially, that's tip number 6. Tip number 7, reputation, reputation, reputation. A lot of people who call me have had previous involvement with the criminal justice system, so they know a little bit about what's going on. Others know nothing. They've never been involved with the criminal justice system and they don't know anything about it. So you may not know a lawyer's reputation. You may not have a friend who can recommend because you don't know anyone who's been in this situation before. So you can find a ton of information online, looking at reviews, looking at legal directories. I mentioned Avvo here on the website. There's also Super Lawyers, Justia. I think there's a couple more. Basically, if you just type it in Google, you'll see a bunch of legal directories come up that kind of give you some information. So trying to find out what you can, either through friends or acquaintances, if they're familiar with the system, or online. Tip number 8, look for an attorney who will give your case the attention that it deserves. I think this is super important. And what I mean by that is, how many cases does the attorney have? I know some attorneys who have an ungodly number of open cases. And so all those clients are paying them, and maybe that works for them. That's great. But I personally can't imagine how an attorney could take care of all those clients and give their case the attention it deserves if you've got 500 open cases. So just something to consider. You want an attorney that's busy, because but I don't know that you want an attorney that's got 1,000 open cases. So tip number 9, finding a lawyer with a good work ethic. This is maybe hard to determine, but just something to kind of keep in mind when you're researching and exploring your options for representation is you want an attorney who's going to do the work that needs to be done. So, and then tip number 10, this kind of goes back to one of the other things I talked about how you feel about the attorney matters. I suggest that you should absolutely only hire a lawyer that you trust. If you are talking to this attorney or coordinating with their office or looking at their information online and you just kind of get a feeling that something doesn't feel right, I'm a big believer in trust your gut. So I would recommend that you only hire a lawyer that you feel comfortable with and that you trust. So those are my top 10 tips to find the right attorney for your criminal case. Again, go online. I'll put the link down below if you want to grab this guide and kind of read through it more thoroughly, but those are the highlights, and I hope you find that helpful. And feel free to call our office or check out our website, send us an email, contact us if you have any additional questions. I'm going to show you one thing here on my homepage on my website. It's also on the Contact Us tab that I've recently added. I think is pretty helpful. A lot of times you might be thinking about your attorney and it's 10 p.m. at night. Well, calling the office at 10 p.m. at night is probably not going to, nobody's going to answer at our office. So I've added this button, like I said, it's on the homepage, FossioLaw.com, or on our Contact Us tab, where you can click and schedule a time for us to call you. So then you don't have to worry about phone tag or any of that. You just click on here, put in some information, schedule a time to schedule a phone appointment, and it's just hopefully an easier way. We try here to make things as easy as possible for our clients. So check that out if that's something you want to schedule a phone appointment. Just check out our website. All right, good luck to you.